Brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum. Tonight, inshallah, we're going to commemorate the Wafat of our seventh Imam, Imam Musa al-Kadhim alayhi salam, as well as of Hazrat Abu Talib. And we'll start the program tonight with a recitation of the Holy Quran. After that, we will have Dua Kumail, and then we'll move on to the Wafat program, inshallah. So without further ado, I'll ask Alia, are you ready to recite? Bismillah.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Inna a'tainaka al-kawthar. Fasalli li rabbika wanhar. Inna shani'aka huwal abtar. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. O Allah, send your blessings on Muhammad and the family of Muhammad. In the name of Allah, the All-Beneficent, the All-Merciful. Indeed, we have given you abundance. So pray to your Lord and sacrifice the sacrificial camel. Indeed, it is your enemy who is without posterity. O Allah, send your blessings on Muhammad and the family of Muhammad.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Good job, Alia, mashallah. Well done. Good job. Okay, Avasali, are you ready? Let me just get the screen share up and then we'll go from there, inshallah.
Okay.
There it is. Okay.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Allahumma inni as'aluka bi rahmatika allati wasi'at kulla shay wa bi quwwatika allati qaharta biha kulla shay wa qadha 'alaha kullu shay wa dhallalaha kullu shay wa bi jabarutika allati ghalabta biha kulla shay wa bi izzatika allati la yaqumu laha shay wa bi azamatika allati mala'at kulla shay wa bi sultanika alladhi ala kulli shay wa bi wajhika al-baqi ba'da fana'i kulli shay wa bi asma'ika allati mala'at arkana kulli shay wa bi ilmika alladhi ahata bi kulli shay وبوجهك الذي أضاء له كل شيء يا نور يا قدوس يا نور يا قدوس يا نور يا قدوس يا أول الأولين ويا آخر الآخرين اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تحتي كل إثام اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تنزل النقام اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تغير النعم اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تحبس الدعاء اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تنزل البلاء اللهم اغفر لي كل ذنب أذنبته وكل خطيئة أخطأتها اللهم إني أتقرب إليك بذكرك وأستشفئ بك إلى نفسك وأسألك بجودك أن تدنيني من قربك وأن توذعني شكرك وأن تلهمني ذكرك. اللهم إني أسألك سؤال خاضع متذلل خاشع أن تسامحني وترحمني وتجعلني باسمك راضيا قانعا وفي جميع أحوالي متوازية. اللهم وأسألك سؤال من اشتدت فاقته وأنزل بك عند الشدائد حاجته وأعظم فيما عندك رغبته. اللهم عظم سلطانك وعلى مكانك وخفي مكرك وظهر أمرك وغلب قهرك وجرت قدرتك ولا يمكن الفرار من حكومتك. اللهم لا أجد لذنوبي غافرا ولا لقبائه ساترا ولا لشيء من عملي القبيح بالحسن مبدلا غيرك. لا إله إلا أنت سبحانك وبحمدك ظلمت نفسي ظلمت نفسي ظلمت نفسي وتجرعت بجهلي وسكنت إلى قديم ذكرك لي ومنك علي. اللهم مولاي كم من قبيح سترته وكم من فاضح من البلاء أكلته وكم من إثار وقيته وكم من مكروه دفعته وكم من ثناء جميل لست أهلا له نشرته. اللهم عظم بلائي وافرت بسوء حالي وكسرت بأعمالي وقعدت بأغلالي وحبسني عن نفعي بعد أعمالي وخدعتني الدنيا بغرورها ونفسي بجنايتها ومثالي يا سيدي فأسألك بعزتك أن لا يحجب عنك دعائي سوء عملي وفعالي ولا تفضحني بخفي ما اطلعت عليه من سري ولا تعاجلني بالعقوبة على ما عملته في خلواتي من سوء فعلي وإساءتي ودوام تفريطي وجهالتي وكثرة شهواتي وغفلتي. وكن اللهم بعزتك لي في كل أحوال رؤوفا وعلي في جميع أموري أطوفا. إلهي وربي من لي غيرك أسأله كشف ضري والنظر في أمري. إلهي ومولاي أجريت علي حكما اتبعت فيه هوى نفسي ولم أحترس فيه من تزيين عدوي فغرني بما أحوى وأسأله على ذلك القضاء وتجاوزت بما جرى علي من ذلك بعد حدودك وخالفت بعض أوامرك فلك الحمد علي في جميع ذلك ولا حجة لي فيما جرى علي فيه قضاؤك وألزمني حكمك وبلاؤك. وقد أتيتك يا إلهي بعد تقصيري وإسرافي على نفسي مؤتذرا نادما منكسرا مستكيلا مستغفرا منيبا مكرا مذعنا معترفا لا أجد مفرا من مكان مني ولا مفزعا أتوجه إليه في أمري غير قبولك عذري وإدخالك إياي في سعة من رحمتك. اللهم فاقبل عذري وارحم شدة ضري وفكني من شد وثاقي. يا رب ارحم ضعف بدني يا رب ارحم ضعف بدني يا رب ارحم ضعف بدني ورقة جلدي ودقة عظمي يا من بدأ خلقي وذكري وتربيتي وبري وتغذيتي هبني لابتداء كرمك وصالي في برك بي. يا إلهي وسيدي وربي، أتراك معذبي بنارك بعد توحيدك، وبعد ما انطوى عليه قلبي من معرفتك، ولا هجابه لساني من ذكرك، واعتقده ضميري من حبك، وبعد صدق اعترافي ودعائي خاضعا لربوبيتك. هيها أنت أكرم من أن تضيع من ربيت، أو تبعد من أدنيت، أو تشرد من آويت، أو تسلم إلى البلاء من كفيته ورحمت. وليت شعري يا سيدي وإلهي ومولاي، أتسلط النار على وجوه خرت لعظمتك الساجدة، وعلى ألسن نطقت بتوحيدك صادقة، وبشكرك مادحة، وعلى قلوب اعترفت بإلهيتك محققة، وعلى ضمائر حوت من العلم بك حتى صارت خاشعة، وعلى جواري سعت إلى أوطان تعبدك طائعة، وأشارت باستغفارك مذعنة. ما هكذا ظن بك، ولا أخبرنا بفضلك عنك يا كريم. يا ربي وأنت تعلم ضعفي عن قليل من بلاء الدنيا وعقوباتها، وما يجري فيها من المكاره على أهلها، على أن ذلك بلاء ومكروه، قليل مكثو، يسير بقاء، كثير مدته. فكيف احتمالي لبلاء الآخرة، وجليل وقوع المكاره فيها، وهو بلاء تطول مدته، ويدوم مقامه، ولا يخفف عن أهله، لأنه لا يكون إلا عن غضبك وانتقامك وسخطك، وهذا ما لا تقوم له السماوات والأرض. يا سيدي فكيف لي وأنا عبدك الضعيف الذليل الحقير المسكين المستكين. يا إلهي وربي وسيدي ومولاي، لأي أموري إليك أشكو، ولما منها أزج وأبكي، لأليم العذاب وشدتي، أم لطول البلاء ومدتي. فلئن سيرتني للعقوبات مع أعدائك، وجمعت بيني وبين أهل بلائك، وفرقت بيني وبين أحبائك وأوليائك، فهبني يا إلهي وسيدي ومولاي وربي. صبرت على عذابك، فكيف أصبر على فراقك؟ وهبني صبرت على حر نارك، فكيف أصبر عن النظر إلى كرامتك؟ أم كيف أسكن في النار ورجاء عفوك؟ فبعزتك يا سيدي ومولاي أقسم صادقا، لئن تركتني ناطقا لأزجن إليك بين أهلها زجيج العاملين، ولا أصرخن إليك صراخ المستصرخين، ولا أبكين إليك بكاء الفاقدين، ولا أنادينك أين كنت يا ولي المؤمنين، يا غاية آمال العارفين، يا غياث المستغيثين، يا غياث المستغيثين، يا غياث المستغيثين، يا حبيب قلوب الصادقين، ويا إله العالمين. أفتراك سبحانك يا إلهي وبحمدك تسمع فيها صوت عبد مسلم سجن فيها بمخالفته، وذاق طعم عذابها بمعصيته، وخبث بين أطباقها بجرمه وجريرته، وهو يزج إليك زجيج مؤمل لرحمتك، ويناديك بلسان أهل توحيدك، ولا يتوسل إليك بربوبيتك. يا مولاي فكيف يبقى في العذاب وهو يرجو ما سلف من حلمك؟ أم كيف تؤلمه النار وهو يعلم فضلك ورحمتك؟ أم كيف يؤركه لهيبها وأنت تسمع صوته وترى مكانه؟ أم كيف يشتمل عليه زفيرها وأنت تعلم ضعفها؟ أم كيف يتقلقل بين أطباقها وأنت تعلم صدقها؟ أم كيف تزجره ذبانيتها وهو يناديك يا رب أم كيف يرجو فضلك في إتكه منها فتتركه فيها هيهات ما ذلك ظن بك ولا معروف من فضلك ولا مشبه لما آملت به الموحدين من برك وإحسانك فباليقين أكته لولا ما حكمت به من تأديب جاهدك وقضيت به من إخلاد معاندك لا جعلت النار كلها بردا وسلاما وما كان لأحد فيها مكرا ولا مقاما لكنك تقدست أسماؤك أقسمت أن تملأها من الكافرين من الجنة والناس أجمعين وأن تخلد فيها المعاندين وأنت جل ثناؤك قلت مبتدئا وتتولت بالإنعام متكرما أفمن كان مؤمنا كمن كان فاسقا لا يستوون إلهي وسيدي فأسألك بالقدرة التي قدرتها وبالقضية التي حتمتها وحكمتها وغلبت من عليه أجريتها أن تهب لي في هذه الليلة وفي هذه الساعة كل جرم أجرمته وكل ذنب أذنبته وكل قبيح أسررته وكل جهل عملته قدمته أو أعلنته أخفيته أو أظهرته وكل سيئة أمرت بالإثباتها الكرام الكاتبين الذين وكلتهم بحفظ ما يكون مني وجعلتهم شهودا علي مع جواره وكنت أنت الرقيب عليهم من ورائهم شاهدا لما خفي عنهم وبرحمتك أخفيت وبفضلك سترت وأن توفر حظي من كل خير أنزلت أو إحسان فضلت أو بر نشرت أو رزق بسطت أو ذنب تغفر أو خطأ تستر يا ربي يا ربي يا رب يا ربي يا ربي يا رب يا ربي يا ربي يا رب يا إلهي وسيدي ومولاي ومالك رقي يا من بيدي ناسيتي يا عليما بالضر ومسكنتي يا خبيرا بفخري وفاقتي يا ربي يا ربي يا رب يا ربي يا ربي يا رب يا ربي يا ربي يا رب أسألك بحقك وقدسك وعظم صفاتك وأسمائك أن تجعل أوقاتي من الليل والنهار بذكرك مأمورة وبخدمتك موصولة وأعمالي عندك مقبولة حتى تكون أعمالي وأورادي كلها وردا واحدا وحالي في خدمتك سرمدا يا سيدي يا من عليه مؤولي يا من عليه شكوت أحوالي يا ربي يا ربي يا رب يا ربي يا ربي يا رب يا ربي يا ربي يا رب قوي على خدمتك جواره واشدد على العظيمة جوانه وهب لي جد في خشيتك ودوام في اتصالي بخدمتك حتى أسرها إليك في ميادين السابقين وأسرها إليك في الباردين وأشتاق إلى قربك في المشتاقين وأدنى منك ذنوب المخلصين وخافك مخافة المؤمنين واجتمع في جوارك مع المؤمنين اللهم ومن أرادني بسوء فأرد ومن قادني فكد واجعلني من أحسن عبيدك نصيبا عندك وأقربهم منزلة منك وأخصهم زلفة لديك فإنه لا ينال ذلك إلا بفضلك وجد لي بجودك واعطف علي بمجدك واحفظني برحمتك وجعلني لساني بذكرك لهجا وقلبي بحبك متيما ومن علي بحسن إجابتك وأكلني أثرتي واغفر ذلتي فإنك كذيت على عبادك بعبادتك وأمرتهم بدعائك وضمنت لهم الإجابة. فإليك يا ربي نسبت وجهي وإليك يا ربي مددت يدي فبعزتك استجب لي دعائي وبلغني مناي ولا تقطع من فضلك رجائي واكفني شر الجن والإنس من أعدائي. يا سريع الرضا يا سريع الرضا يا سريع الرضا اغفر لمن لا يملك إلا الدعاء فإنك فعال لما تشاء. يا من اسمه دواء وذكره شفاء وطاعته الغنى ارحم من رأس ماله الرجاء وسلاحه البكاء. يا سابغ النعم يا دافع النقام يا نور المستوحشين في الظلام يا عالما لا يعلم صل على محمد وآل محمد وافعل بما أنت أهله وصلى الله على رسوله والأئمة الميامين من آله وسلم تسليما كثيرا كثيرا. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
وآل محمد. أحسن. أحسن يا باسل. Thank you so much. MashaAllah.
Thank you.
أحسن. We'll now proceed with the program. We'll start with Marcia for tonight, inshallah. Once again, for those of us who joined us a little bit after the beginning, we are commemorating tonight, inshallah, the wafat of our seventh Imam, Imam Musa al-Kadhim alayhi salam, as well as Hazrat Abu Talib alayhi salam. We'll start the program with the Marcia and then proceed to the Majlis. Before we begin, there is a program that we're also hosting tomorrow night. Historically, the program has always been for the A'mal of Mi'raj, but as a lot more information has recently been uncovered and more information has been shared, the night of Mi'raj is actually not tomorrow night. The night of Mi'raj actually happens to fall possibly sometime in the month of Ramadan. Tomorrow night is actually the celebration of the Ma'ba'ath, which is really the first time that the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ proclaimed publicly his prophethood. So it is very important, of course, to remember that night and to celebrate that night. But because we also don't know exactly when the Mi'raj is, we will also recite the small surahs that we had already assigned to the young children so we can hear the children's voices. And we'll still, even in the majlis that we play tomorrow, remember and learn the lessons from the trip, the Mi'raj that the Prophet Muhammad ascended upon. So just as a quick reminder, or just as a, in case, if somebody asks us why we're not doing the full a'mals tomorrow, now we all know. But inshallah, we'll celebrate the Mab'ath, which is again, the proclamation of the prophethood of Prophet Muhammad. And we'll also celebrate the lessons that we may learn from Mi'raj as well. So we'll start with the loud salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Once again, tonight, we are commemorating the wafats of our seventh Imam, Imam Musa al-Kadhim, as well as of Hazrat Abu Talib. And I'll ask Uncle Iqbal to please start us off with the Marcia, inshallah, tonight. Thank you.
Muhammad wa ali Muhammad salawat. Salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. The Marcia I'm reciting today, Maroom Ashraf Virji used to like to recite this. So can we recite the Surah Fatiha for him, please? याद करती थी सुगरा वतन में मेरे लेने को अकबर ना, मैं तो मुजराई थी उनकी दुखिया, मेरे लेने को अकबर ना, मैं तो रूठी लड़ी भी नहीं थी, मेरी तकसीर अब कौन सी थी, मुझको देकर गए थे भरोसा, मेरे लेने को अकबर ना, भाई असगर में ये दिल पड़ा है, जोशे उल्फत का दिल में उठा है, उनका क्यों कर झुलाऊं मैं झूला, मेरे लेने को अकबर ना, मेरे आंखों में सुना ये घर है, रेती चौकट पे हरदम नजर है, मुझको लगता है उजड़ा मदीना, मेरे लेने को अकबर आए, मैं तो खाना भी उनको खिलाती, मैं तो पानी भी उनको पिलाती, अब ये ओढ़ा सकीना को बख्शा, मेरे लेने को अकबर ना, सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. أحسنك الإباء. Thank you. We'll start the Majlis program now in just a second, inshallah. Tonight's Majlis is recited by Dr. Said Shabir Kirmani. It was recited actually last night, which was the actual 25th night of Rajab, and to commemorate his wafat, inshallah. Sorry.
إلى الله إن الله بصير بالعباد ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل ونعم المولى ونعم النصير والصلاة والسلام والتحية والإكرام على الرسول المسدد المصطفى الأمجد المحمود الأحمد الذي سمي في السماء بأحمد وفي الأرض بأبي القاسم محمد. اللهم صل على وعلى أهل بيت الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المظلومين المنتجبين الذين أذهب الله عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا. اللهم صل على محمد. وقل رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. أما بعد، قال الله تبارك وتعالى في كتاب الكريم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الذين ينفقون في السراء والضراء والكاظمين الغيظ والعافين عن الناس والله يحب المحسنين صدق الله العلي العظيم زينوا مجالسكم بالصلوات على محمد وآل محمد وسلم. My respected elders, brothers and sisters, youngsters in Islam and Iman here in Florida, across the globe, wherever you're hearing my voice, Salamun alaikum jami'an wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Question, what is anger? We've been embarking on a journey in all of our lecture series to try to understand how does one get to a level of kamal. That we said that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created us as ashraf al-makhluqat and gave us the ability to be His best creation. And in that journey, we are striving towards a manzil of kamal or destination of kamal or perfection. And on the road to perfection, one needs to remove and reduce and eliminate all of the barriers that may be there. So when our world, we're looking for trying to understand what is the Quran about, when we're trying to understand what is spirituality about, when we're trying to understand akhlaq, when we're trying to understand these three elements, how can I implement akhlaq as per Islam in my life so that I can get more spiritual, so that I can get to the essence of the Quran al-Majid wal Furqan al-Hamid? When I look at that, what is the essence? According to our scholars, all of what is Islam can be summed up in Surah Al-Fatiha. If you want to know the whole entire Quran, just study Surah Fatiha. But don't study at a surface level. All of the Quran is highlighted in this chapter, in the first beginning opening. And the rest of the Quran, according to our ulama, is an expansion of just this one chapter. So if you want the whole thing, and this is not only my words, as you know, the very famous tradition that the Ahlul Bayt have told us, that everything in the Quran is in Surah Fatiha, and everything in Surah Fatiha is in the ba of the Bismillah of Surah Fatiha, and everything in the Bismillah of Surah Fatiha is in the ba of the Bismillah, as you know. And that on top of that, everything that is in the ba is in the dot underneath. And Amir al-Mu'mineen says, وَأَنَا النُّقْتَةُ تَحْتَ الْبَا, and I am that dot which is beneath the ba. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. So understanding this, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, Allah, the most compassionate, the most merciful. Meaning, my mom loves me, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala may love me 99 times more than that. That is, the narration say that Allah has kept 100 parts of love, one of which He's given to the mother, the rest He's kept for Himself. Now imagine that one cannot fathom that how much a mother may love their child. Allah is saying that my love is greater than that because I created that love and I put it into the heart of the mother. Number one. Number two, when we get for Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, alaykum assalam, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, that I realize that whatever is in creation, as far as the eye can see, no, as far as the senses can perceive, no, as far as the mind can go and beyond, that is Allah's realm, that is Allah's dominion. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. When I say Alameen, I feel it in my bones. Going on further and further, the whole idea, Iyaka na'budu wa iyaka nasta'in, and the idea of Ihdina as-sirat al-mustaqim. This is the whole lesson of Islam, is getting on that path of guidance. That's why some scholars have spent their whole life doing tafsir of Surah Fatiha, and they still said we have not completed it. Because when you're doing tafsir of Surah Fatiha, you're actually doing the tafsir of the entire Quran. Although you may not realize it. That's how much density there is therein. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, give us the guidance on which path? The path of those whom you have blessed, not the path of those who've gone astray. Why do we have these commemorations? We have these commemorations in light of this verse of Surah Al-Fatiha, that who are the people you have blessed? It is none other than these Ahlul Bayt. It is none other than the Ma'sumeen. These are the people who have been blessed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They are the righteous ones who are on Sirat al-Mustaqim. And that's why we commemorate them, so we can understand what is our direction in life. And why is it that we have tawalli and tabarri, tawalla and tabarra? It's the same notion that those who Allah has cursed, we stay away from them. Cursed in terms of the likes of Fir'aun, Harun, Qaman, Shaddad. These likes. Qarun, Haman, Shaddad. The likes of Namrud, the likes of these people, Yazid and the likes. We stay away from their path. That's why we have these commemorations. It's not simply only ritualistic. Yes, it can be, some people can make it that way, but there was an essence behind it. There was a reason behind it. There was a falsafa behind it. as to why we commemorate these personalities. So we have this embedded in our hearts and our minds, number one. Number two, tonight as we come to commemorate this great personality, what are the lessons that we learn from the life of this great Imam, our seventh Imam, who teaches us how to get to excellence? But one of the ways he tells us to get to excellence is by removing the filth, by removing the negative attributes, by removing that which are hurdles on the way. What is this verse that I recite, the second level? What is this verse that I recited at the beginning? And how does it have to do with our Imam? Verse 134 of Surah Al Imran, 134. By the way, one point that should be noted here is in the Quran, the word is actually ayat. We've gotten from Christianity and the Bible the term verse. And ayat literally means sign. So each one of these is a sign of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's not simply a sentence. So it's important to keep that word and wording and terminology along the ways. Anyways, this is what the verse is. Number three, what is anger and what is its relationship to spirituality? And how is it that we can perhaps understand the wisdom of the entire Islam by understanding this one trait? Finally, what was the era of the time of the Imam and how did he do tabligh? And of course, what is the challenge and the masaib and the musibah of this Imam? And particularly, what are some of the karamat and mu'jizat of this Imam that we need to be mindful of? And why is he called Babul Hawa'ij? And is it possible for him to solve some of our dilemmas and our challenges in this day, in this age, in this era? And how is it possible if we make that connection? This is our agenda for tonight. Wherever you are, here in Florida, across the globe, from the bottom of your heart, send a salawat on Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala. At the first level, if we organize this just to get an essence of this verse, the first verse that I've recited at the beginning is with respect to this Imam. Now, how does it relate? I'll tie these together in a moment. Number one, we're told that the sixth Imam, Imam Sadiq, is on his way back between Mecca and Medina. He's just performed the Hajj. He's coming back to Medina. On the way back, they stop in a place called Abwa. Abwa is, if you recall, where the mother of Rasulullah is buried. That is, Bibi Amina is buried in Abwa, between Mecca and Medina. At this location, the mother of Imam Al-Kadhim, who was expecting, gave birth to Imam Al-Kadhim in this environment. So he is born in Abwa. Now, as time progresses, this Imam, his name is Musa, as you know, and his title is Al-Kadhim. What does the Kadhim mean? The one who controls, the one who restrains. But restrains what? Controls what? This is based on the verse that I recited at the beginning, verse 134 of Surah Al Imran, verse of Surah 3. What is it? Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alladhina yunfiquna fis sarra'i wal dharra wal kadhimin al ghayz wal 'afina 'anil nas wallahu yuhibbul muhsinin. Who are those people? Alladhina yunfiquna fis sarra'i wal dharra. They give in times of ease and hardship. They do infaq. They give in Allah's ways, in ease and in hardship. What does ease and hardship mean? We'll come back to that momentarily. وَالْكَاظِمِينَ الْغَيْظِ وَالْعَافِينَ عَنِ النَّاسِ وَاللَّهُ يُحِبُّ الْمُحْسِنِينَ وَالْكَاظِمِينَ الْغَيْظِ. And they restrain their rage. They restrain their anger. وَالْعَافِينَ عَنِ النَّاسِ. And they forgive the people. وَاللَّهُ يُحِبُّ الْمُحْسِنِينَ. Allah loves those who control their anger, their rage, and do good. Wallahu yuhibbul muhsin. Allah loves those who do good, I should say. What is this? What is the wisdom here? The title of the Imam is Kadhim, the complete one, the one who restrains. But the complete title comes from this verse, Kadhimin al-ghayz. There's those who control their rage. Allow me to explain the importance of this at the next level. A man, according to the sixth Imam said, I heard from my father, Imam al-Baqir, al-Kafi. Al-Kafi, as you know, is our most authentic book of tradition. One of the Kutub Arba'a, the 4 big books. Kafi, Man la yahdhur al-Faqih, Tahzib and Istibsar. Al-Kafi, sixth Imam says, I heard from my father, Ma'soom, fifth Imam. He says, a man came to Rasulullah, a Bedouin, one without, someone who was a desert dweller, who is not a city person. A Bedouin comes to Rasulullah. Now keep in mind, these are people who are not coming to Rasulullah day in and day out every day. They came maybe once in a lifetime, they saw Rasulullah, and that's it. He comes to Rasulullah, he says, Ya Rasulullah, teach me the essence of wisdom, the essence of hikmah. Now imagine, Rasulullah, look at the person who's asked the question. Look at who he's asking to, and look at what answer Rasulullah has to give. This is the height of a teacher. A Nabi, a Rasul, a Khatm al-Rasul, these are all levels of being a teacher. The greatest of teachers are the best of communicators, to be able to communicate to people in a way that they understand. Now, this guy has asked the toughest question, and Rasulullah asked to answer the toughest question, perhaps one of the toughest questions, in a way that one of the most simple minds can understand. This person hasn't done rocket science at MIT or Harvard. He has to explain to a Bedouin, what is the essence of wisdom? Although he may be very intelligent. But what I'm saying is, Rasulullah has to condense this, and you may never see him again. Says, Ya Rasulullah, what is the essence of wisdom? Rasulullah looks up, he looks at him, said, the essence of wisdom is to control your anger. The guy thinks, maybe he hasn't heard me, maybe there's something wrong with my dialect, maybe I've said something wrong. He repeated the question. Said, Ya Rasulullah, what is the essence of wisdom? Hikmah. Rasulullah looked at me and said, to control your anger. Third time, he said, maybe there's some communication lapse, there's some communication gap, it's not working. So, Ya Rasul, what is the essence of wisdom? The heart of wisdom, the essence, the core of wisdom? So it says to control your anger. At that point in time, he said, the Bedouin said, I realized that Rasulullah does not say anything except it is from Allah's wisdom. I understood that this was it. He turned around and he went back. If you want to know what is Islam, all of it can be understood by controlling one's anger. That's it. Because when you get to controlling your anger, you get to the core of what it means to control the nafs. Not my words, sixth Imam's words. The sixth Imam, Imam Sadiq says, the father of the Imam that we're commemorating, he says, if you want to know what is the key to all of the vices, all of the sins, all of the gunah, all the masiyah, the key is anger. There are other traditions that say lying also, as you know, but in this tradition from Al-Kafi, key to all of them is it. What does Amir al-Mu'mineen say about anger? He says, anger starts with madness, starts with being out of control of one's mind, and it ends with regret. It ends with regret that I wish I had not done what I had done. When it comes to anger, it is controlling the heart of this matter. This Imam showed this at the height of the highest level. Remember, if you want to understand something, understand the first principle. That anger is not a sign of strength. Anger is a sign of weakness. These are not my words, by the way. Modern psychologists are saying this. Because remember, anger is exhibited when one has fear. Fear that what they say, either their name, their respect, their dignity, will go down the drain. Some fear is behind anger, number one. Number two, if you want to understand Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen, when Amr ibn Abdul Wud al-Amri spat on the face of Amir al-Mu'mineen, and Rumi, after reading that, wrote the line, Az Ali amuz ikhlas amal, learn from Ali the sincerity of action. That the whole world said, Ali, everyone was afraid of marhab, but you weren't afraid of marhab. Allahu Akbar. Amir al-Mu'mineen is on top, and he steps away, and he comes back and finishes, and he says, what was it that you were able to step away, Ya Ali, and then go back? He says that he spat on my face, and I did not want that for one moment that my anger gets in the way of the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Subhanallah. The whole world was afraid of marhab, and Amir al-Mu'mineen was afraid of his own anger. That's it. He was not afraid of the other person on the other side. That level of control, this is what allows a person to go to Kamal. But let's come back to the verse. Verse says what? وَالْكَاظِمِينَ الْغَيْظِ وَالْعَافِينَ عَنِ النَّاسِ وَاللَّهُ يُحِبُّ الْمُحْسِنِينَ. Question here. وَالْكَاظِمِينَ الْغَيْظِ. And they control their what? غَيْظ. What's the Arabic word for fear, for anger? غضب. Why didn't Allah say وَالْكَاظِمِينَ الْغَضَبِ? Allah didn't say that. Allah said وَالْكَاظِمِينَ الْغَيْظِ. What is ghayz and what is ghadab? According to Mufassirin, there's a difference between ghayz and ghadab. Ghayz is that which is internal anger. You know, sometimes someone's saying something and you're gritting your teeth and you want to let it out, and you want to say something and you want to get enraged. Ghayz is internal. Ghadab is when it comes to the tongue and it comes to the body. The physical manifestation, ghadab. So Allah is saying, and Allah is giving you the signs of the spiritual ones that He loves, the ones that He are His followers. وَالْكَاظِمِينَ الْغَيْظِ. They control their inward anger. They don't even let it come to their tongue and their hands and their feet, and they don't let it come out. They control it within. You see, this control is the height of spirituality. If you want to understand anything, it comes right there. How can you do this? One way that you can do this is control, is to really try to observe with a cool heart and a cool mind what is going on in the other party's head and mind, truly and sincerely. You can ask questions. Why do you see it this way? Why are you getting upset? Why? Rather than we sometimes emotions and our logic get twisted and entangled. Remember, Allah has given us 4 faculties of our soul according to Islam. قوى الأقلية وحمية شهوية غضبية. Allah has given all of these things, and there is a reason Allah has given them. That Allah has given aql to the soul. Allah has given, for example, shahwiya. Allah has given wahmiya, shahwiya, desire. Wahmiya, imagination. Allah has given anger also for a reason. Ghadab is also a reason. Why? We need certain things at certain times. For example, we need to have imagination. Why do we need imagination? This whole world that we see around us is a creation of that creativity that Allah has given us. There's the natural world, which Allah has created, and we, human beings, what we have created, the likes of computers and AI and technology and things, we have all done it by understanding what Allah has given us and understanding what He has created and building on that. That creativity and imagination, number one. Imagination also has to do with depression. Now, depression has medical aspects, chemical aspects. I'm not talking about this notion that some people say, just read this dua, it will solve all your depression. No, no. Depression is a clinical matter. Remember, by the way, one thing that we need to make it clear. No one dies of suicide. Remember this. We say this is halal, this is haram. That time is gone. No one dies of suicide. They die of depression. Understand the difference between those two things. Our world, we still have some of these narratives where we are saying that that person's a sinner, they've done this, they've done, we can't recite. Hold on a second. Do you understand the background element of it? But keep that to a side. But sometimes, when sometimes you're feeling sad and you have huzn, amul huzn. You remember the year where Rasulullah lost his wife and uncle, Bibi Khadija and Abu Talib? Amul huzn, the year of sorrow. How do you do this? One way to tackle this is to use your quwwal of imagination, of wahmiya, to think about the upside, the positive, what could be good, the silver lining. Then you will be able to go further than this. Shahwiya has its reason as well. Ghadabiya also has its reason. By the way, one of the best ways to succeed in life is to channel your anger in a positive direction. If you're very angry and upset, channel it. It can be one of the best motivators to allow you to do well. Anger in itself, everyone gets angry. There's nobody who doesn't get angry. The question is, how do you channel it and how do you use it for positive ends? Further than this, but above all of these should be aql. Aqaliya is the one that should reign supreme. This is why Seneca, the ancient Greek philosopher, said one should stay away from anger. Why? Because anger is one that enslaves. Anger enslaves the person who becomes angry. And anger is contagious, he said. He said this 2,000 years ago. Anger is contagious. What do you mean? When one gets angry, you begin to spread that like wildfire amongst others. It's contagious, number one. Number two, when you become angry, you become a slave. One of the things you want to know. If you want to know what the ulama have said in the past, and the spiritual urafa have said in the past, if you want to know someone's spiritual height, try to make them angry and see their response. You will know their spiritual height. I can't speak for others, but I may have a ways to go. But that's a journey we're all on. That's how it comes, the spirit of it. Anger, if you can control your anger, that means you can control every other element. You know how many issues arise because of the lack of control here? This is the key element that this Imam teaches us. Allow me to explain this through one example. Now, if you want in this night to be able to get that level of control, we ask Allah through the tawassul of this Imam in order to be able to solve some of our problems, such as control anger and other desires. How? This Imam, who according to the narrations tells us that 1930, the year was 1930, Iraq. A scholar from Iraq is saying this. I saw my father, and every time the name of Imam al-Kadhim would come up, he would begin to weep and he would begin to cry. Bab al-Hawaij. There are 4 Bab al-Hawaij according to the narrations. Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas, Musa al-Kadhim, the one who we're commemorating, Aliun al-Asghar, Bab al-Hawaj. And Muslim ibn Aqil also, according to some narrations. Safir Imam Hussein, they call him also Bab al-Hawaj in the Arab belt. This is one of those that Allah says, if you ask at this door, is granted right away. So the scholar, this alim from Iraq says, I used to ask my father, Baba, why is it every time I take this name in particular, you weep, you cry? He said, my son, if it were not for this name, perhaps I would not be alive, and perhaps you would not be alive. He said, Baba, what do you mean? He said, I was 8 years old in Iraq, and I had gotten severely ill to the point that I was bedridden and in paralysis. Said, my mother saw me in this state. And you know, mother's position is mother's position. That Allah's messenger, Rasulullah says, if your mother's alive, go and ask her to do dua. Don't ask me to do dua. Or Rasulullah said this while he was alive to other Muslims. Rasulullah's ultimate intercessor. But he's saying, what do you realize what you have? And he told others that if your mother's not alive, go to her grave and ask her to do dua. He said, my mother was alive. I was 8 years old. She went to the shrine of Imam al-Kadhim in Kadhimain. And she went and she held onto the net and she prayed to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala saying, oh Allah, by the virtue of this person, my son is ill. And she said, oh Al-Kadhim, Musa Al-Kadhim, you with your position to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, your spiritual proximity, which is closer to Allah, grant cure to my son. He's bedridden, he can't move. It's my son. So that night she went to sleep. She came home, she went to sleep. When she went to sleep, she saw that there was a knock on the door. When there was a knock on the door, she went to the door. In her dream, she opened the door. There's a man with a beard, black turban, said, I've been sent by the Imam with instructions. She said, what's the instructions? So the instructions are, you are to take your son in the morning to this hospital, this particular hospital in Iraq. Go there and get there, and you will get your solution. Now, keep in mind, at that point in time, we probably wouldn't know how serious this is if we had not gone through COVID. I know of many people in India, in Pakistan, other places. They were in the final moments of their life, and their families were going hospital to hospital in order to just get a tank of oxygen for them to survive. And nobody had it. But some hospital in town had it. But there was no network to say who had it. He woke up in the morning, and she said that I've gotten my message. She said, my son, let's go. She got her son ready, and they went and they traveled. And they went to that hospital. It so happened in 1930, on that particular day, there was a doctor who was visiting from Germany, who was not living in Iraq, who had looked at the child and noticed that there was some fluid in the spine, and he did a procedure that nobody in Iraq at that time may have known. That child recovered. At that point in time, it came to the same mother in the dream that this messenger was none other from Imam al-Kadhim. We are told in our most difficult time that not only us forget this. Imam al-Shafi'i, one of the Imams of Ahl Sunnah, says that I did not find any of my du'as, and I did not find anyone to be the best door of intercession except Bab al-Hawaj, Musa ibn Ja'far al-Kadhim. My dear brothers and sisters, on the path to spirituality, ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tonight to give us control over our nafs the way Imam al-Kadhim did. This Imam, who the narrations say that there was a moment in time where a Shia wanted to visit Imam al-Kadhim when he's in prison, when he's in the most difficult time in prison. There was nobody who could come and see the Imam. There was one man who had visited Baghdad, and he said, I want to see the Imam, I want to see the Imam of my time. And he had gone and he had found there were some Shia in Taqiyya, and there were even some prison guards who were working there who would help the Shias in isolation, in seclusion, in secrecy. He asked here and he asked there. He said, I have come all the way to Baghdad, and I cannot leave without seeing the Imam of my time. He asked one person, they directed him to one prison guard. He said, it would be very difficult, but there is one moment under which I can do this. And that moment is this, that at night, there will be a particular moment, I will tell you to come, but you will have to go through the ventilation system. You cannot go through the front door, there's no other way. You're going to go through the ventilation system and look down into the cell of the Imam, and you will see him in the cell there. He said, very well, if that's the only way, that's the only way. He said, when the time came, he said, now is the time. He said, here is the entrance to the ventilation system. Enter into the ventilation system. Go up into the ventilation system and go and follow these steps until you get to the point that I tell you to stop. And he went and he went and he went and he stopped over that where he saw the ventilation system, and he saw a cage, a covering, where he saw the vent that led into the grave of the Imam, and he looked. He said, look therein, in there you will see your Imam, you will see our Imam. He looked in, the Shia, and he said, I saw nothing but a cloth on the ground. And I knew that there's no way there could be anyone here. He said, I looked back at the prison guard, I said, I see nothing except a cloth on the ground. There's no Imam, he's not here. Where is he gone? He said, no, the Imam is right there. He's under the cloth. He said, my Imam is under the cloth. He said, yes, the amount of food and drink that comes to the Imam is so minimal that his skin has become so thin, and his bones have become so thin, and his flesh has become so thin that it is as if there is nothing but bones. This Imam was there. At that point in time, Ajrukum Allah, the narrations say that when the Imam was brought and they gave the Imam the poison, the narrations say they brought the Imam to a particular place. The ruler of the time, the Abbasid rulers, they came forward and they called all the dignitaries. They called the likes of the 4 Imams of the schools of the Ahl Sunnah school of thought, the likes of Imam Abu Hanifa, Maliki, Shafi'i, Hanbali. May Allah have mercy on those righteous scholars. Why? Because they asked all of them, they come and write on a piece of paper that you saw the body and you swear that there were no marks, this was a natural death. May Allah's peace for this, at least this action, may it be on Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal, who according to the narration say, he was a young scholar at the time, but he came forward and said, when he saw the body, he said, if you pay me whatever and you do whatever to me, I will not sign this document, because I have seen the body and from head to toe, there are nothing but lashes. He was whipped, he was struck, they killed him and they beat him in the way that they destructed his body. They took revenge on him, and they dealt with him in the worst way. This is what they did to Imam Musa al-Kadhim. Salams on Imam al-Kadhim and condolences to Imam Sahib al-Asr wa Zaman. They say that Imam al-Rada, at this young age, he came and he gave the ghusl and the kafan, and he made sure that he followed the will of his father. The narrations say that Imam al-Kadhim, he told his son Imam al-Rada before he left this world, he said, my son, make sure that you bury me in this state. He said, Baba, in which state? He says, in the states of the shackles, because I want to see my grandfather Rasulullah in this state, that they put me in the zindan. Azadaro, do jumle sun lijiye. Imam ne kaha ke Riza, मुझे इसी हालत में दफन कर दो, इसी हालत में सुपुर्द खाक कर दो, मैं अपने जद रसूल अल्लाह से इसी हालत में मिलूंगा, सलाम हो। मगर आपको पता है कि इसके बाद क्या जुल्म हुआ कि कोई इमाम अल-काज़िम की जो जनाजा था, जो मैयत थी, कोई उठा न सका, क्योंकि पाबंदी थी। 4 मजदूर बुलाए गए और बगदाद के पुल पे एक ही कलाम करते थे और जनाजा लेके चलते थे और कहते थे, माता इमाम राफिदा, राफदियों का इमाम इस दुनिया से चला गया। मगर सलाम हो इमाम अल-काज़िम, मैं एक आखिरी जुमला कहूंगा, आप भी इसी हालत में अपने जद रसूलुल्लाह से मिले, हाथों में हथकड़ियां, पांव में बेड़ियां। मुझे एक 4 साला मासूम बीबी भी याद आई, जो शाम में ऐसी दफन हुई, जो ज़ैनब थी सामने और सैयद सज्जाद दफन कर रहे थे, और शायद वही रसूल होंगे और कहेंगे कि मेरी उम्मत ने क्या किया। अला लानतुल्लाहि अलल कौम।
Yeah, Hussein.
Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Hussein, Ya Hussein. आई फलक से सदा मूसी काजिम गरीब, आई फलक से सदा मूसी काजिम गरीब, कत्ल हुए बेखता मूसी काजिम गरीब, आई फलक से सदा मूसी काजिम गरीब, आई फलक से सदा मूसी काजिम गरीब कत्ल हुए बेखता मूसी काजिम गरीब 13 बरस कैद थे और थे बीमार भी 13 बरस कैद थे और थे बीमार भी थी न दवा बेग़िज़ा मूसी काज़िम गरीब आई फलक से सदा मूसी काज़िम गरीब आई फलक से सदा मूसी काज़िम गरीब कत्ल हुए बेखता मूसी काज़िम गरीब खुरमे में बेरहम ने जहर हला हल दिया खुरमे में बेरहम ने जहर हला हल दिया जहर से मारा गया मूसी काज़िम गरीब आई फलक से सदा मूसी काज़िम गरीब आई फलक से सदा मूसी काज़िम गरीब कत्ल हुए बेखता मूसी काज़िम गरीब आपके 40 थे एहलो अयालो यतीम आपके 40 थे एहलो अयालो यतीम लाश पे कोई न था मूसी काज़िम गरीब आई फलक से सदा मूसी काज़िम गरीब आई फलक से सदा मूसी काज़िम गरीब कत्ल हुए बेखता मूसी काज़िम गरीब लाशे मुकद्दस रही जिस्र पे बगदाद के लाशे मुकद्दस रही जिस्र पे बगदाद के कोई न पुरसा हुआ मूसी काज़िम गरीब आई फलक से सदा मूसी काज़िम गरीब आई फलक से सदा मूसी काज़िम गरीब कत्ल हुए बेखता मूसी काज़िम गरीब मोहम्मद वाले मोहम्मद सलावत
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Ahsan. Thank you. Ahsan. We've come to the end of our program tonight. Once again, tonight we were commemorating the wafat of our 7th Imam, Imam Musa Kadhim alayhi salam, as well as that of Hazrat Abu Talib. May Allah give us the opportunity to do the ziyarat. For those of us that haven't been, may Allah give us that chance. And for those that have, may Allah give us another opportunity, inshallah, to go to the ziyarat. Thank you very much for joining this program. We'll end with ziyarat and the dua. But before we do that, I want to one more time remind us about the program for tomorrow, inshallah. The program for tomorrow is going to be the celebration of the Mab'ath, which is the very first time that the Prophet Muhammad publicly proclaimed his prophethood. I know that historically, this is the night on the 27th of Rajab, that historically we have celebrated Mi'raj and have done the A'mals of Mi'raj. But as we all know, and as we all have come to learn, that isn't the actual night of Mi'raj. And therefore, what we will do is, because we had already programmed for that night and had asked our young children to recite the surahs from that amal for that night, we'll continue with the surahs, as there's nothing wrong to recite the surahs of that night, the surahs from the Quran, I mean. And after the surahs of the Quran, we'll go into a majlis where we will both celebrate the Mab'ath of the Prophet, as well as lessons that we can gain from the Mi'raj, because otherwise we will not have an opportunity to celebrate Mi'raj as well. So we will be able to do both of them, inshallah. So we ask if you can please join us. A lot of the young children from the center, inshallah, from the community, inshallah, will be reciting surahs tomorrow. So please do come join, and please do come and celebrate and encourage them on as well, inshallah. We'll end the program with ziyarat, inshallah. صلى على محمد وعلى محمد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. السلام عليك يا رسول الله. السلام عليك يا أمير المؤمنين. السلام عليك يا فاطمة الزهراء سيدتي نساء العالمين. السلام عليك يا حسن المجتبى. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليك يا مولاي وابن مولاي. السلام عليك يا غريب الغرباء. السلام عليك يا سلطان يا أبا الحسن علي بن موسى الرضا. كن شفيعنا وشفيع والدينا في يوم الجزاء ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليك يا صاحب الأسر والزمان. الأمان الأمان الأمان. السلام عليك يا خليفة الرحمن. السلام عليك يا شريك القرآن. السلام عليك يا إمامنا وإمام الإنس والجان. أجر الله تعالى فرجك واستخر الله تعالى مخرجك وظهور الأمر ورحمة الله وبركاته. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. بسم الله
الرحمن الرحيم. Allahumma kulika hujjatina Hasan salawatuka alayhi wa alayhi fi hadhihi as-sa'a wa fi kulli sa'a waliyan wa hafizan wa qaidan wa nasiran wa dhalilan wa ina hatta tuskinahu azakatawa wa tutihu fiha tawila.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. Thank you everybody. Inshallah, that brings us to the end of tonight's program, and we will inshallah see everybody tomorrow. Thank you. Allah.